Companies just laid off over 1 million workers. 1 million. And yet, their stock prices are hitting all-time highs. Their earnings are record-breaking. Their buyback programs are unprecedented. So here's the question that nobody's asking out loud. If these companies are wealthier than ever, why are they gutting the workforce? The answer isn't what they're telling you. It's not about AI, it's not about inflation, it's about something far more deliberate, and it's been happening since the 1980s. According to their own admissions, over 90% of companies have invested heavily in AI, and yet 90% of them say it hasn't generated a single dollar in profit. Some are even admitting their AI projects were just for show. So if the technology isn't making money, what's really going on here? Why are thousands of positions being eliminated right now, as we speak? This is the story of how corporations learned to replace American workers faster than we could organize against it. This is about how the government became complicit. This is about how the media stopped asking the hard questions. And this is about what we can actually do about it. But first, you need to understand how we got here. In the 1980s, the entire philosophy of American business changed. Before that, companies understood that they needed a healthy workforce to survive. Henry Ford paid his workers $5 an hour in 1914 because he understood if your workers can't afford your products, you can't sell them anything. But in the 1980s, something shifted. Shareholder primacy became the religion, and suddenly the only thing that mattered was the next quarter's profit. The consequences? Entire industries started moving overseas. Blue-collar jobs vanished, manufacturing hollowed out, and nobody in power seemed to care. Then came the dot-com boom. Apple, Microsoft, all these massive tech companies started saying the same thing. There aren't enough qualified American workers. We need talent from overseas. It sounded reasonable. It sounded like a solution. But what it really was the first domino in a carefully constructed system to depress wages for an entire generation. And the vehicle for it was a visa program called the H-1B, introduced in 1990 with a cap of just 65,000 visas annually. Sounds small, right? It wasn't. By the late 1990s, the tech industry was lobbying hard. And in 2000, Bill Clinton signed a bill that tripled the H-1B cap. It went from 65,000 to 195,000 visas per year. The media framed it as solving a labor shortage. But here's what actually happened. A 2003 survey found that in identical jobs, permanent residents earned 25% more than H-1B visa holders. So the shortage wasn't real. The goal was wage suppression. And it worked. The corporations got their savings, the government got to look business-friendly, and American workers got undercut. Now here's where it gets darker. Companies figured out they could bypass the entire system using what's called a cap-exempt category. This was originally created for universities and nonprofit research labs. But outsourcing firms like Infosys and Tata Consultancy Services figured out a workaround. Create shell partnerships with universities. File fake affiliations. Suddenly, you're cap-exempt. You can hire as many H-1B workers as you want, year-round. No annual cap. No restrictions. Then you rotate these workers between different corporate clients, multiplying the reach of each visa. Think about what this means. You're a huge tech company. You don't want to file the H-1B petitions yourself. That creates paper trail, transparency, so you hire an outsourcing firm as an intermediary. They do all the hiring, all the paperwork. You just contract the workers from them. Now you have access to foreign labor without ever filing a single visa petition yourself. It's plausible deniability at scale. And the guest workers? They're trapped. One termination and they lose legal status. So they accept unpaid overtime, wage suppression, constant relocation. They have no choice. In 2013, the Department of Labor investigated Infosys and Tata. What they found was damning. The average H-1B worker at Infosys was earning $70,882 a year. At Tata, just $65,565. Meanwhile, a domestic computer systems analyst doing the exact same work was making $91,990. That's a gap of $25,000 to $26,000 per year per worker. Some partnered firms were saving even more, cutting labor costs by 36 to 41%, $40,000, sometimes $45,000 less per worker every single year. The Department of Labor found all this evidence. Clear wage suppression, direct violation of the H-1B program's supposed protections. And then they ruled it was legal. Why? Because the H-1B workers were technically employed through a contractor, not directly by the corporation. A loophole that still exists today. a loophole that still legalizes wage suppression under the headlines of AI restructuring and economic efficiency, millions of dollars in labor cost savings. And the law says it's fine. Roughly 300,000 jobs are outsourced from the United States every single year. That number is projected to nearly double within the next 5 years. You're not imagining it, it's actually happening. And the companies doing this? They're massive. Infosys, Tata, their market capitalization is $40 to $50 billion. They have tens of thousands of H-1B workers operating inside the United States. And they're also farming massive amounts of work to their low-cost workforce in India. So it's not just replacing American workers with visa holders here, it's simultaneously offshoring to even cheaper labor overseas. Amazon is the perfect case study. They announced 14,000 layoffs under the banner of AI restructuring. Simultaneously, they're one of the largest H-1B employers in the country. They onboarded more foreign visa workers this year than the total number of domestic workers they laid off. But here's the really damning part. An independent analysis of every Amazon job posting since 2020 found that postings in offshored countries increased by 154%. The largest reductions? United States. The largest growth? Anywhere but here. Remember when everyone said just go to college, learn to code? That was the answer. Get skilled, get ahead. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York just published data on that. Among college graduates aged 22 to 27, computer science majors face some of the highest unemployment rates in the country, 6.1%. Computer engineering, 7.5%. Double the unemployment rate of biology majors. Double art history majors. Across all computer occupations, unemployment rose from under 2% in 2019 to over 3% by 2025. You did everything right, and it didn't matter. Meanwhile, the share of IT workers on the H-1B program surged from 32% in 2003 to over 65% in the last 5 years. You're watching in real time as the foundation of America's future gets cut out. You're watching an entire generation of educated, qualified, ambitious workers get locked out of the industry they trained for. And the corporations are saying it's necessary. It's global competitiveness. It's the market. It's not. It's a choice. A deliberate choice to inflate shareholder pockets at the expense of your future. You want to know why every politician and every media outlet doesn't just say this program is a scam? Because in 1983, 90% of American media was owned by about 50 different companies. Today, the same 90% is controlled by just 6 corporations. 6. These 6 corporations have massive tech divisions, massive stakes in H-1B labor, or massive advertising contracts with companies that rely on it. So when Microsoft lays off 10,000 workers, it's just a headline. It's normal. But in the early 1990s, a layoff like that would have been a national crisis. The news has trained you to accept it. Here's something that perfectly encapsulates how broken this system is. Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, came out publicly and said, the H-1B program is a scam. A government official said their own government program is scamming American people. And then what happened? Nothing. He didn't do anything. No regulations changed, no restrictions were added, he just said it out loud and then moved on with his life. Think about what that tells you. Think about how broken our democracy is when a government official can say I'm scamming you, and there's just silence. Politicians could pass a one-sentence bill tomorrow if they wanted to. The Department of Labor could issue a regulation, the DHS could change the rules, they have all the power. So why don't they? Because American workers aren't organized. There's no voting bloc threatening to abandon them. There's no corporate funding behind worker protection. The corporations have all the leverage, all the money, all the lobbying power, and the government is terrified of them. Not of you, of them. So they choose the path of least resistance, do nothing, and let the corporations do what they want. Every single morning, I wake up to 5 to 7 emails. From young people, old people, husbands, fathers, mothers, wives. They all say the same thing. I just got fired. Or, I was fired 6 months ago and I still haven't found work. And the most common line? What's the point of continuing on? Why do I need to keep going? That's the question I'm getting from dozens of people every single day. Not from one person, from dozens. That's a disaster. That's a sign that something is fundamentally broken in how we're treating each other as a society. 30% of the American workforce is making less than a Ford factory worker in 1914. 60% can't afford basic cost of living. We're reverting to an economy built entirely for the wealthy. Before Henry Ford, The economy was established fundamentally for them. All products, all consumer goods were made for the rich. We're going back to that period, and the corporations know it. They don't care if you can buy their products anymore. The top 7 to 10% are making 45% of the purchasing power. They only need those people. Do I think things will get better eventually? Yes. The cycles always improve at some point. But here's what I think, is the next decade and longer are going to be quite destructive for the average person. Some people will break through. It always happens. But the majority of us are going to struggle. And that's not doom and gloom. That's just being realistic about what the data shows. The question isn't whether it'll get better eventually. The question is, how long will you suffer before it does? So what do we actually do? The answer isn't one thing. It's not a simple fix. But it starts with conversations. It starts with you watching this, disagreeing if you disagree, but explaining why. Share this with people. Watch it with other people. Have conversations. Stop talking about things that don't matter and start talking about things that do. The H-1B program, American outsourcing, wage stagnation. These are conversations worth having. We have to start holding our leaders to higher standards. And to do that, we have to agree among ourselves what those standards are. We have to unite. We have to believe we can do something. We have to actually try. Don't contact your representative once, get no response, and give up. I'm consistently doing things I don't think will work, but I hold hope it might. And for me, that's enough to keep going. If this resonates with you, if you think this matters, please check if you're subscribed. I know I've asked this in every video, but it genuinely helps this message reach the people who need to hear it. If the videos are providing value, subscribe. Support the work. That's all I'm asking. This isn't just doom and gloom. This is a call. At some point, I want to be the voice of the American workforce. I don't know what that means yet, but I want to be ready when that moment comes, and I hope you'll be ready with me. We have to look into the pit of despair a little bit and start scraping some of it out, so we can clean this for future generations, for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids. We have to stop kicking this can down the road. Check out Dr. Ron Hura's work. He responded within an hour when I reached out. He's unbelievably knowledgeable, and he's helping me on my own personal journey. Check out the full conversation we did. Thank you all so much for the support. I look forward to talking to you next time. Please subscribe to this channel.